Hello everyone. This is chapter 5 of a story called Where I Get My Ideas From. It pushed forward into the kitchen, and a foot behind it, the thing from the darkness emerged. The fella slid its way into the dim light of the kitchen, huge, charcoal grey black, shiny and disgusting. Two empty eye sockets flicked open a foot higher than Arthur's own. They revealed very slight green glows, wispy like smoke. When Arthur looked into them, he thought they looked lost and all alone, as if all of the sadness in the universe was in them. He pulled his gaze away before he was hypnotized. He saw it was one of the huge goat men of hell, standing in the darkness, 2 meters tall, naked and hideous. It had bowed its head, and when it stood upright and moved into the kitchen holding him, its multiple horns scraped against the ceiling, tearing the plaster with negligence. The air around the beast was stale and dead, unbreathable. Arthur's bowels let go with his bladder in a couple of empty seconds. All the confidence and security he'd had over the last 20 years he realized had been a sham, an overlay of falsity. He didn't have any real confidence. He'd ridden for free on a comfortable bus of voices and schizophrenic possession that made every difficult decision for him and gave him the easy way out of any situation. He went to talk but couldn't. The foot-long fella shot upward on an almost perfect 45-degree diagonal from the thing's groin, weighed down with a multitude of metal and stone spike runes piercing it in bizarre directions. Ropey tendons either side of its upper surface almost burst through the skin with their might and pulled it up like a drawbridge. It looked strong and vulgar, and it was rotting, very, very old. Veins thick with sludgy parasites coursed down its muscle. Arthur could see the little bugs travelling in hypodermic lethargy through its bloodstream, and some of them were poking their strange insect heads from holes in the phallic veins. The thick, slimy blood dripped onto his floor from the spikes and ulcerations, and pieces of dead flesh on the organ that was rashed with leprosy and psoriasis, and many more diseases he didn't recognize. He noticed in fading interest there were no testicles beneath it. It let him go and he stepped backward and fell, sliding in the puddle of urine he'd made, mashing the feces he had filled his trousers with into a large wet splat. Again he went to talk but couldn't. He'd seen these things up close before, had bossed them around and played torturer with them, ordered them to kill thousands of hell's children before, but not in this world. There was something wrong with one of them coming here into this world. His heart thumped painful and strong in his chest. The goat man just looked at him. Unlike most of its brothers, it had 2 eyes of similar size in what Arthur would have considered normal human positions. Both flared and blazed. As Arthur struggled, the beast fed on his fear, lusted for it. Arthur could not see its mouth beneath its jutting nostrils, and was happier for it. Thinking of it chewing his living flesh made him weep. The goat man was muscled, but more slim than some that he had seen. Then he noticed something strange about its body that he hadn't been able to put his awareness on for a few seconds. Its legs were arms. They were just a little longer than the arms that sprang from its shoulders, and the front of the hips, where the quadricep muscle should have been, were sinewy biceps, tight like broad iron wires. The elbows flexed backwards, opposite to normal knees behind it, and its feet, hands, were huge, twice as big as the hands on its upper arms, but definitely hands. Arthur remembered the 2 guns he had strapped to his t-shirt, but he couldn't seem to steel himself. His arms were jelly and his bladder released again. The shoulders of the goat man moved up and down in quiet laughter as it stepped forward into the kitchen light for perhaps a second before it grabbed the light bulb in a sudden movement with its upper left arm. It trod on the disorder of cutlery and broken dishes without a care. Arthur saw scrawny pins of light emerging from its massive fist, and it squeezed, and its green smoke eyes were the only light in the room. It looked very, very relaxed, as if pleased with itself. As if about to eat a fine dessert it had desired for a long time. Arthur's hands were shaking so much and his fingers were so numb with fear that when it reached down with its other hand to hold his wrists together, his hopeless fighting would have looked to an onlooker like he had let it. Thank you, my friends. Good night.